Don't know what it is about Imola, charming city in a charming part of the world. But again, there was tension at this amazing circuit. Two big accidents in qualifying. Drivers walked away from both of them, but both of them in the area where we lost Ayrton and Roland Ratzenberger in 94. Definitely clammy palms in the pit lane as the red flags came out again and everybody stood around and waited. And there were some long waits too, particularly one when we were waiting to see whether or not Oliver Behrman would get into Q2 because he appeared to have done on his last lap. But because he crossed the line just before the checkered flag, as the track had gone red, that time was disallowed. But there was a long delay while that was analysed, not really becoming of Formula One. Qualifying supposed to be bang, 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 bang. Well, not against the walls anyway. Bottom line, Oscar Piastri. This is probably the best pole he's ever taken because to do it, he had to beat an absolutely superb Max Verstappen. And Oscar did that with an equally superb lap in the absolutely superb McLaren MCL 39, maximizing its grip and balance and getting the pole in the last phase of Q3. It was a really, really impressive performance from Oscar. The more so because Lando Norris, his teammate, who I predicted yesterday could well be on the pole because of how well he was driving, particularly through turn 9 in sector 2, just faded away under the pressure. Lots of little micro mistakes on the laps on both sets of tyres in Q3. And for all we can say about Lando's technique and his skill when he's doing it right, when he's not under pressure, when he's under pressure, certainly the fragility is showing through. The pressure partly from Max Verstappen in the Red Bull, but mainly, as I predicted last winter, from his teammate, Oscar Piastri. He's the guy always that Lando's had to beat, and at the moment he's not doing it. He's getting nowhere near it. Indeed, Lando didn't even qualify P3 behind Oscar and Max. He qualified P4 because in the closing seconds of Q3, that position was taken by Mercedes' George Russell, who had a pretty difficult qualifying, but really got it together with a classic George Russell lap, everything on the absolute edge, very like Oscar Piastri's lap. Very like it, interchangeable almost in terms of the way they drove the lap. Max Verstappen, very different, compensating for all the things that weren't right on the Red Bull, continuing to do his left foot braking into 9. But for George to out-qualify McLaren's Lando Norris means that Lando really has to go away and think deeply about how he's handling that situation with Oscar Piastri, because quite clearly, whatever he's doing now is not working. He's in the second or the best car in Formula One, and only to qualify 4th around Imola is not good at all. But there was another moment to qualifying as well, and we'll get onto the two shunts in a minute, but there was another moment which is pivotal really, I think, and that was both Ferraris failing to get through into Q3. And who was quickest in Q2? Carlos Sainz, the hero Ferrari driver that was sacked at the end of the year, replaced by Lewis Hamilton. I mean, if ever there was a classic graphic demonstration of how Ferrari have got it wrong ever since they decided to do that, then this was it. Q2 at Imola, at Ferrari's home circuit. Autodromo Dino e Enzo Ferrari. Packed with Ferrari fans. Ferrari did not make it out of Q2, and the driver they sacked, probably now a national hero, driving for Williams-Mercedes, Carlos Sainz, quickest in Q2. If anything sums up everything that's wrong about Ferrari ever since they took that decision, then it was this moment. It was this moment in Q2. And Freddie Vasseur's management of the team should now really be under the spotlight, because it's one thing for the top brass to say we want a brand like Lewis Hamilton in the car. It's quite another for the team principal to allow that to happen. And it's not only that, of course, Ferrari were reasonably good yesterday, somewhere near Mercedes, but they fell away today with Max Verstappen finding over a second in lap time compared with yesterday. Ferrari drivers only found a tenth, 2/10 maximum. It was pathetic. And that speaks to the way the cars are being run and the decisions that are being taken trackside. Aston Martin, by contrast, like Red Bull, found almost a second overnight. This perhaps is the first time we've seen the Adrian Newey effect at Aston Martin. They were nowhere yesterday, but today, not so bad on the straight and pretty good over the lap as a whole as well. And they've got to say the car was good because Lance Stroll was right up there with Fernando Alonso as well. Very good job by Aston. Very good job too by Red Bull to have found all that time in the car. And it showed up in FP3 this morning at Imola when Max was quickest on medium tyres. Quicker, just quicker than the two McLaren drivers on medium tyres, and not far away as well on the soft tyre too. So a lot of really good overnight work from Red Bull. Not the first time we've seen that this year. So in answer to the questions of can Red Bull survive without Adrian Newey, one of the things would have been, well, can they get this car developed at track if they do have a poor Friday? We've seen it very efficiently at Red Bull this year. So very, very impressive performance from them in the in the post-Adrian era. Meanwhile, Aston Martin now in the Adrian era, benefiting, I would suggest, probably from some input from Adrian to get that car as good as it was today. To the shunts, Yuki Tsunoda, big one, second chicane before the one before Toza, lost it coming out. I say lost it, got a wheel on the grass, spun round into the barrier, and it flipped him over when he hit the barrier this time. It looked spectacular. Yuki was able to walk away, but that was right at the beginning of Q1, so that held things up with a red, obviously, while those repairs were made. And then at the end of Q2, with all those on the bubble under massive pressure, a big accident for Franco Colapinto, the driver that has replaced Jack Doohan at Alpine, presumably because they felt Jack wasn't doing the job. So they've put in Colapinto, who, as I pointed this out in the live stream, spun twice in the wet in Brazil last year. And I did say rather cynically in the same live stream that I hope that by the time Colapinto gets back into a Formula One car, he will have done a lot of work on his driving to have got rid of those really wide entries and that rather aggressive approach that he has to the initial turn in. Well, it didn't appear to be that way yesterday. Didn't want to make too many snap judgments. But here, coming out of the first chicane, again, not very far from the point where Ayrton would have lost it in 1994. The back end, like Yuki Tsunoda, got it on the grass, spun him round, then he was just a passenger locked up, and another big shunt for him. Again, a function of just getting on the power. When you're a driver like Colapinto and you do turn in so late and you're waiting to get on the power as soon as possible, because that is where your speed has got to come from. You're not doing any sort of pace into the rotation point. You're doing it all on exit and power application. You're going to make that sort of error under pressure, as he did in Brazil twice, and now as he's done in Imola. And again, if you put this in the context of the Jack Doohan shunt in Japan, which was basically caused by Alpine putting a renter driver in the car for the first session, Jack getting no track time at all in FP1, and then having to go out, very, very dodgy DRS situation going into turn one at Suzuka, having that big shunt. And now this big crash for Colapinto as well. The amount of damage that Alpine have done in terms of eating into the budget cap, repairs, if nothing else, just appalling management to have allowed any of that to happen. Meanwhile, Pierre Gasly sailed serenely into Q3. I say serenely, it wasn't at all. Serenely in terms of the way he was driving the car. Absolutely beautiful performance from Pierre Gasly. But for a while it was touch and go as to whether he would get into Q3, because on his first Q2 lap he was badly balked at the top chicane by Fernando Alonso in the Aston. It was along the lines of, who's that in the Aston Martin? Give me his name, I'll always remember it. Yeah, it was Fernando Alonso. He lost that lap, but he did then make up for it on his second lap. A really good lap for Pierre to get into Q3 in the Alpine. So to recap, it's Oscar Piastri on the pole, Max Verstappen alongside him. Interesting drag race, that interesting braking area into that first chicane. George Russell, P3, looking for a place alongside Max as they're going into the braking area on the cleaner side of the road, obviously. Lando Norris probably in a good position to be grandstanding and watching tomorrow, P4. Fernando Alonso, P5. Wow, best qualifying position we've seen from Fernando for a long time. Congratulations to him. Well earned. Carlos Sainz, eventually P6. They kind of ran out of red soft tyres in the end, but what a performance from Carlos Sainz today. Alex Albon had a massive moment in Q2 at the top chicane behind him in P7. Lance Stroll, 8. Not bad at all for the son of the boss. Ninth, Isaac Hadjar just continues to qualify top 10. We almost take it for granted now. Another really good performance from Isaac Hadjar. And P10, the aforementioned Pierre Gasly in the Alpine. And now the list of those who did not get into Q3, the two Ferrari drivers, Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton, a tenth of a second apart, Charles just quicker. Kimi Antonelli, P13 in the Mercedes. I said yesterday, don't be too worried that he wasn't going that well, because he was on a good lap, then he didn't get it right in sector 3, but no doubt he'll stitch the lap together today. Well, he did stitch it together, but it was pretty dodgy stitching. And I come back to the point I made before, through the medium and fast corners, he's trying to look like George Russell, driving them as George drives them, but he isn't George Russell. George is absolutely perfect, but on the limit. You don't want to make one mistake if you're George Russell, but he did the lap and he got away with it. Kimi Antonelli is trying to do that, but he's having to back away. Every time the car's moving, you can see him backing away from it. Superb again through the tight corners, very good on change of direction, but it's the fast corners that were hurting him around Imola today. So there's a bit of a pattern there. Yesterday, P18, yeah, I mean, it wasn't a good lap, but then P13 only today. So there is that trend developing for Kimi on this circuit. Liam Lawson, who almost unnoticed, qualified P16 in the other Bulls. I mean, he's really getting overshadowed by Isaac Hadjar, Nico Hülkenberg, Esteban Ocon, and Oliver Berman. Felt sorry for Oliver because he doesn't deserve to be starting P19. He's definitely quicker than that. And then, of course, Yuki Tsunoda had that shunt. Good to see both drivers walking away from those accidents. So, yeah, stand back for that first run down to the first chicane. About time Max Verstappen made a decent start. He's had a few dodgy ones in the last couple of races. Oscar, no doubt, all fired up. I mean, Oscar Piastri just thriving on the results he's got and the pressure that he's been able to apply without even thinking about it, really, just doing his job on Lando Norris. And it's by the race, it's showing more and more how Lando is suffering under the pressure from Oscar. And all Oscar is doing, just having to do the same thing every race, just drive the race car, stay calm, get on with it, work with Tom Stallard and the boys. And wow, what a result for him. A quick reminder that you can order your REC watch made from the exact materials used in the Lotus 98T chassis number 4 Renault Turbo, driven by Ayrton Senna in 1986. Exact materials from the plenum tubes in that car, now reforged into the tachymeter of this exquisite REC timepiece created in Denmark, made in Switzerland. Wonderful, wonderful watch. You can order that by going to the website in the description below this video. And don't forget to claim your discount by adding the word Peter. Okay, qualifying now over at Imola. Let's hope it's an incident-free race tomorrow. We've had enough of that. Let's hope that it's good racing, and we'll see you then. Take care.